Here we come to another arcade game, but one that I think is not here just for the cabinet, even though the cabinet was great. Virtual Cop being big giant cab with a gun, a big blue or pink gun strapped to the front. It being a light gun game, and much different from the earlier light gun game Operation Wolf, not just because of the 3D graphics, but in the freedom of the gun and your character kind of cutting about the level, you're shooting them. James McCool's, I think your character's name is. It's ridiculous name. Yeah, so the arcade experience was great, but it's also neat because the Saturn experience was also pretty good. It got converted down to the Saturn. I mean, the 3D obviously took a hit. You can kind of see from this capture from the Saturn version. It's not great, but it came with the gun. It had the gun in the box, and yeah, it was truly felt like a near arcade experience. Having that kind of big plastic gun, having a TV shooting out the bad guys. Obviously, it wasn't quite a replicating experience. Like the giant screens you get in the arcade, but it's still really good. You know, with the gun, the game holds up. A bit tough to play with pads, you know, obviously. But it's like a set-piece game, like a look at this, look what I've got at my house kind of game. Virtual Cop tick that box very well. Now, Super Monkey Ball as a system seller, you know, maybe in the 80s, but by the early 2000s, we've had, you know, we went to the second generation of PlayStation. The industry quote Corona. I think it was out either at the same time or, you know, not too long before GTA 3. So, you know, things have changed, but for me, Super Monkey Ball was a system seller. I wanted to play that game because it looked just that. So that's one of the reasons why I ended up with a GameCube. Luigi's Mansion was one. We'll come back to it in a bit. And Super Monkey Ball was another early game I picked up, and it was so much fun. Like the main game, kind of the tilt thing, getting across the stages, yeah, that was one thing. But it was the extra modes, the party modes, you know, monkey target, monkey fight, all those kind of things. Yeah, really kind of opened up video games as a kind of an overall entertainment for people at parties. You know, I mean, I think the last time we talked about Wii Sports, how that really kind of, you know, cemented video games as something that anybody could do. But GameCube, you know, was the start of that process, the start of, you know, being able to put a controller into someone else's hand and going, look, all you need to do is waggle that. You know, it's like those labyrinth games you've got. Make sense? Yeah. And off you go, trying to land a monkey on a small target to get 100 points. So yeah, it was great. Love Monkey Ball. Sequels kind of didn't quite repeat the same trick afterwards, but that first one, there's magic in that disc, in that small disc. Now, no clue why I picked up this game. I think it must have got reviewed in a magazine or something. I'm not sure which one. I was buying the official Sega Saturn magazine because, you know, I live in dream that the console I got for Christmas wasn't going to die soon. Its neck snapped by the brutal assassins of Sony. But yeah, Mass Destruction was a fun game. It was like very much like an arcade game. You were a tank. I suppose inspired by Desert Strike and Jungle Strike and those kind of games. Military tank in some kind of big country somewhere. I'm not sure where it is. But you have to go up and destroy stuff, and the destroying things was really fun. It felt kind of novel to be going around this map, just destroying buildings and stuff and knocking things down in your big tank. You know, different weapons, you could have flamethrowers and cannons and stuff, and it was just a fun score attack game with some decent 3D graphics. That was made it a pretty fun time. So yeah, Mass Destruction on Saturn. It's not an amazing game, but it's a really, really fun game, a really kind of good idea done well. But most of the time, video games, that's what you want. You just want like a good idea executed well, and I'm just happy. And Mass Destruction made me very happy. See, I said we talked about it later. Luigi's Mansion. One of the games I really wanted to get a GameCube for, because it looked brilliant and it looked different as well. We'd had obviously a lot of Mario by this point. The last kind of big Mario game was probably the Mario 64. I'm trying to remember if Sunshine was a launch game. Mario Sunshine might have been, but I can't remember. This was the one. This was different, you know. Luigi cared about a mansion as a Ghostbuster. Who's not going to be down with that? Everybody loves Luigi. Everybody loves Ghostbusters. But the field game was great, you know, having to yank back on the control stick to kind of set the ghosts in. It was one of those games that kind of was really fitted to that pad, that GameCube pad, and made it, you know, even better to play. So it looked great as well. It looked, you know, it still looks cracking. The power of the GameCube was really on display here. The kind of lighting effects and the kind of dust and things. It looked cracking. Ghosts look great. Yeah, a lot of time for these mansion was brilliant. Sequels are good as well, but the thing about the original one, you know, the idea the first time around was brilliant. So, you know, heartily recommend this one. It was a cracking game and a nice change of pace from the usual Mario Luigi kind of games. Now, the Yakuza series was a game that I couldn't help but hear about in the things I kind of watched in the video game media I absorbed in the early 2000s and, you know, 2010s or whatever. Everybody was talking about it as that kind of cult game that everybody loved, but I never played it. I think by the time it came out, I'd sold my PS2 to get my GameCube. I don't think I ever picked up on the PS3 versions. I think by the time I thought, oh, I'll get those, they already, you know, vanished into the eBay bins and being too expensive. So I'll get around to it at some point. And then at some point, the game series that nearly died kind of came back and started to get new versions. And then they announced Yakuza 0, kind of prequel to the main games, and kind of pictures a good jumping on point for players. So I thought, oh, screw it, why not? I'll pick it up. And I bought it, and what do you know? All those people who said the Yakuza games were brilliant, they were right. Who would have thunk it? Right? Who would have believed that? Cutting about Kamurocho, I think it was in Japan, as a, you know, Uncle Kaz, younger Uncle Kaz before he becomes, you know, the Uncle Kaz later in the series. It's just so much fun, the kind of the world it creates. Obviously kind of built on the bones of Shenmue, kind of. Or in fact, you're kind of walking around a small place, there's other people kind of carrying around you. You know, it's much more evolved, advanced than that series. The fighting engines, amazing. All the kind of heat moves you can do, all that kind of stuff. But it's a little bit of the game that make it. It's being able to go into an arcade and play games. It's doing slot car racing or baseball. It's those little bits that kind of make the world cohesive and fun to exist in. So you don't have to go around kind of advanced this melodramatic Yakuza plot. You can just, you know, practice your baseball swings, get drunk in a bar or something, you know, play some shogo. It's just it's a proper sandbox, because each kind of part of it is like as got as much depth as the entire thing. You know, you can kind of look at any kind of little bit of it, and it's each bit's got like as much, like a lot of depth and kind of granularity to it. And yeah, it's brilliant. Even the karaoke, yeah. Yakuza 0, what a great place to start with the series, and what a great version of the game. Now, if there's one thing that Phil loves, it's giant robots. I love a giant robot. Give me giant robots and I'm happy. Like when I found that Pacific Rim was going to be released on my birthday, what a birthday treat that was. Love giant robots. So taking giant robots, put them into video games, yes. Put them into one-on-one fighting games, yes. And Sega doing it as part of the Virtua, 3D series, yes please. Never got to play it in the arcades. I saw it out once. We were driving through Weston-super-Mare, and I remember seeing a Virtual On cab, like in the front of one of the arcades, and you could tell, A, because it had Virtual On written all over it, but the dual controller setup had like two control sticks, so you kind of like push them both forward to go forward, and, you know, pull them one forward and one back to turn, that kind of stuff, kind of tank control-y sort of thing. So yeah, so I didn't have to play the arcades. I think you could get a controller for the Saturn, didn't have that, so I just played it on the Saturn with a regular controller, and it was still great. It was still cracking, you know, cutting about the arena, flying around, firing missiles and stuff at your opponents. Yeah, giant robots. I'll take that all day long, wrapped up in a great Sega arcade aesthetic. Yeah, it's almost perfect. Well, obviously it's not perfect because it's, you know, number 45 on the list, so it's not. It was perfect to be higher, but the point is, it was really good, and I really liked it. So yeah.
session.
I feel like whenever I want to say SoulCalibur, I have to kind of say it in the announcer voice, the kind of proper SoulCalibur kind of style voice, but I'm not. I remember when this got announced, going onto the internet and spending literally hours downloading the kata videos, the videos of the guys going through things with weapons, specifically Go with nunchucks. Just downloading that video and going, oh my god, will you look at those graphics? They are beautiful. And it was beautiful. Graphics are amazing, and the fact that it was being released on as a home version with graphics just as good as the arcade. Oh goodness! The Dreamcast. Dreamcast was a beautiful console. I played the Soul Edge on the PlayStation and really enjoyed it. And the sequel was probably one of the best video game sequels. The way it expanded on the world was great. The expanded, was it Master Mode or Weapons Master, whatever it's called, was fantastic. The characters were all brilliant. The gameplay was, as good as it ever been. Gameplay was as good as it had ever been. And it all just kind of molded perfectly onto that controller, and that machine made it perfect game for the Dreamcast. It was absolutely stunning, and what a beat 'em up! What a great game. SoulCalibur. Whatever the guy said, is it lives in the heart of history. Whatever. Yeah, he was talking about the game, not just the sword, mate. I tell you, talking about the game.
SoulCalibur.
Speaking of beat 'em ups on the Dreamcast, how about this one? Another Capcom one, but Power Stone was well different. We'd had Virtual On a while ago, which was kind of an arena-based beat 'em up, which is kind of similar to this. You're two dudes in an arena. I suppose you could technically call it like a Jackie Chan simulator. Like you're kind of running around, and everything in the stage ends up being a weapon. You can throw chairs at people, jump over things, push chairs towards your opponents, swing around lampposts, battering them. There's also weapons and chests that could come up, so you get like rocket launchers and miniguns and that sort of thing. And then the eponymous Power Stones, which when you got 3 of them, kind of powered up your character to ridiculous levels. You could like fire missiles all over the place, fly around. And it was rock solid 3D fighting fun. It was brilliant. Like the arena wasn't that big. I think they kind of make them a bit bigger and slightly too unwieldy in the sequel. But for this one, it was all just perfectly sized. Running around, chucking tables at people, smashing things out of the air, trying to get that last crystal before the other guy does, and then battering him with your specials. Brilliant, fantastic game. Quite well, there's only been 2 of them. Who knows? Like a new version with kind of really nice 3D graphics. The graphics at the time were really nice. It's a beautiful looking game. But like high res 4K 3D graphics you can do these days would be amazing. But apparently they don't want to do it. So Power Stones, you can get it in emulators now. It was on the PSP. The PSP version was pretty good. A bit tricky to play with the analog nub. But even then, the gameplay still shone through and it was still a cracking game. So, Power Stone, brilliant.
3, 2, 1, go!
I picked up Ridge Racer Type 4 and I had the controller as well. It was the kind of funky one with it wasn't the twisty one. It had like a steering wheel, like a round steering wheel in the middle. You would put your thumb on and kind of turn it around through the steering. I remember trading so much stuff in Electronics Boutique. They gave me change. I traded so much stuff. It was brilliant. But I can't remember what I traded in, but it's worth it because Ridge Racer Type 4 is a brilliant game. Kind of expanded from the early kind of Ridge Racer, which the kind of launch PS1 version, which was very much an arcade game, limited tracks and that sort of thing. Whereas you get to this one and the aesthetic is this kind of ultra clean, efficient kind of the yellow and black text. There's a story mode of you being a race car driver or something. I can't really remember. But that game engine, that race engine, was still slick as anything. The graphics looked amazing. Like I think it was just the resolution that kind of let this game down. It was that kind of PlayStation 1 blockiness that kind of didn't serve it that well, but the feel of throwing cars around the track and everything was spot on. It was such a good racing game. Controller may not necessarily been the best, but you know, Ridge Racer Type 4 as a racing game was pretty much untouchable at the time. Even against, like, I suppose Gran Turismo 2 would have been the big daddy cheese around this time, but Type 4 had more style to it, had more fun to it, and yeah, probably my favourite PS1 racing game. Though I did have the original big black Xbox, the big huge, you know, wardrobe-sized monstrosity. I had that. I bought that in Christmas 2003. Literally 2 weeks before I found out my wife was pregnant with my first son, so that was well-timed way to spend several £100 for, you know, your life if everything really changes forever. But the reason why I got the Xbox is because I wanted Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. I wanted that so bad because I love Star Wars. We talked about the Star Wars arcade game earlier, and it was a big role-playing game. I don't think I played the previous kind of Baldur's Gate style games that kind of preceded this, but Star Wars lightsabers, you know, and yeah, I bought it and I completed it on the old Xbox, and it was really good. The story mode was was fun. The characters were good. Probably kind of take or leave that kind of good or bad choices of it, because, you know, early days of that was quite binary. You know, there wasn't much kind of grey to it. It was, you're a baddie or a goodie, and that's it, sort of thing. But, you know, that didn't matter. Everything around it was fun. Being able to craft your lightsabers, being able to kind of take your squad around and just slice through stormtroopers or whatever the stormtrooper versions were in that game. It was great. Even had, you know, the original kind of fun android who liked killing people. Not android, fun. Yeah, it was an android, isn't it? They're all droids. Hunter killer, whatever he was called, trying to kill all the meatbags. That was brilliant. Was it worth buying a console for? Borderline, but it was brilliant, and you can play it on your iPad now, which is, you know, a bit fiddly, but still good. And it still holds up, because I think the gameplay's probably been, you know, superseded by the kind of different version that came out later. That's kind of improved on it, but that core world, the core story is still really good. So, Knights of the Old Republic. Yeah, well, I really thoroughly enjoyed playing my time on that game. Enjoyed being a Jedi cutting around Star Wars with a lightsaber. It was really good.